Hi, my name is Audrey McKinnon. I'm a local artist here in Prince George. This is my exhibit at Two Rivers Gallery called I Miss Your Faces. Obviously, that's a sentiment that I think a lot of people can relate to right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, and that's what this exhibit is all about. For those of us who won't be able to visit in person, I'm going to give you a tour virtually. So we'll start at the first piece here. This is Keiko plus Geese. It's a large painting of one of my closest friends, Keiko. And everything within the canvas, aside from the geese, those are obviously embellishments. The portrait itself was a screenshot taken from a Facebook Messenger video chat, which I think is really perfect in wrapping in with this theme of how we've been interacting with people throughout the pandemic. So if you consider everything within this as what we're seeing in our worlds right now and the way we're connecting with people, the extension outside of the painting is everything that we're missing. So that's what I've done with a lot of these pieces of it. I've extended them onto the walls. Over here, we have a little embellishment. You'll see little ghosties kind of hidden throughout the gallery in places unusual places. And this one is telling a little joke. It's lights are out, so it's telling you to turn the lights out. We'll move over to the second piece over here. This is a very large portrait of my cousin Dina, who lives in Mexico City. And this portrait was, the image was originally taken as well from a Facebook Messenger video chat. She's somebody who I haven't been able to see in person either, despite plans to go to Mexico, and obviously we've been limited in our travel. But this painting is a little bit more. It's about Dina, who she is as a person. It's called Women and Girls Are Being Violently Killed at an Alarming Rate in Mexico, and those are just the ones we know about. An unconventionally long title, something that I think really represents who Dina is. She's somebody who's always standing up for this feminism activism in Mexico, which takes on a much kind of darker tone in Mexico. There's a lot of violence towards women. I've extended this piece in this kind of crown of marigolds above her head, using really, really rich colors, kind of drawn from that inspiration of Mexico and just their lack of fear of color. And marigolds are considered the flower of the dead in Mexico as well. You see them on altars to draw the spirits to those altars. So that's the idea with this is we're talking about femicide, women who've died for being women. And this is, in a way, an altar to those women. Let's move on. All right, we're looking at two pieces right now that have, through all of this painting onto the walls have become almost one piece. The single piece doesn't have a name, but this one is Boys Do Cry. It's a portrait of my son. His eyes are downcast and he's got these little tears coming out of his eyes, and some of those tears are turning into ghosts. And then over here we have a portrait of myself. It's called Oh Heart of Ketchup. This is a screenshot from a TikTok I took of myself during the pandemic, and it's got little packets of McDonald's ketchup. It's a bit of an expression of the shallow self-indulgence I've been undertaking through this pandemic. And to be clear, I don't miss these two faces. I've seen a lot of them during the pandemic. And you'll see when you come to this piece as well, I hope you take in the entire wall, because I made an effort to get all the way up there and to put some little teardrops and also more of the extension of that mural at the top there. So my intention with this is for you to take in the entire space instead of just the pieces themselves. So if we move around to the smaller panels in the gallery, we end up at a portrait as well called Pap Test for the Face. Probably a familiar image or sentiment for people. I've had the COVID test a few times, always negative, thankfully. Not everybody's been so lucky, but I mean, it's an incredibly invasive test, and this was just kind of a visceral expression of that. And what I've done with this piece in the extension of it is I've kind of had this this gloopy stuff, something material kind of coming out of it. And as you move down the gallery, you'll see repetition of this pattern, kind of to show, the way that COVID, in its infectious nature, but also just the way the pandemic has really affected everything in our lives. So let's move down the wall. Here we have, I want to say this is a fun expression of 3 little ghosts. They're called Dear Sweet Emotional Ghosts. And it's just a really simple childlike expression of some of the emotions that have, just the wellspring of emotions that have been coming up during the pandemic. And I love to take these eyes and just make them really cartoony and glossy and just kind of express that welling up of feeling. So that's what that's all about. And this is a portrait of my mother. It's called Mama. It's been done a little bit earlier than some of the other portraits, so the style is a little bit less refined, I think. But it's an appropriate painting for this exhibit because, like many people during the pandemic, I have not been able to hug my mother in a year. I haven't seen her in a very long time. I'm very close with her, so it's really hard. But yeah, if you take a look up close, you can see the tears, again, are transforming into these little ghosties. And that's kind of a way of saying these tears are playful, even though the emotions are real and they're sad and they're big and you can't stop them. There's something about them that's also lighthearted and can't keep you down. And I also incorporated some traditional Mexican folk art inspired work as well. And there, my mom is from Mexico, and I know that's a really big part of her identity as well. And then I've connected this back to the piece across the way with some little marigolds coming out of the tears as well. And the last piece, a really, really simple, we'll start in the simple, or end in the simplest piece, but this is called Bedroom Eyes. And I'm actually glad I get a chance to explain this one to you because the reason it's called Bedroom Eyes is because of this blue on the background with a little pale pink ghost outlined and the way it's kind of see-through. It's a ghost that's in a bedroom. It makes me think of like children's wallpaper. And it was just kind of a silly idea I had. And sometimes you just have to express those. So that's what that's about. Thank you for coming to my exhibit virtually. If you have a chance to come in person, I hope you get to take in the entire space. And I hope you get to walk around more than once. Don't forget to look up and look down. There are ghosties and little treasures hidden all over the gallery for you to experience this entire space. And if you're not able to come in person, thank you for being here online.